Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unscripted Reviews with me, Freebie Wits, your host. Today we're taking a look at a game called Dicey Dungeons. It's a bit of a dicey game, you could say. You've got no chance of winning it. You've got to really roll with the punches. Bad puns and jokes aside, it is quite fun, and despite the amount of random chance involved, there are a lot of ways to hedge your bets, to say. In this game, there are ways to manipulate your dice rolls, ways to make the best of a bad situation, so even in the worst case scenario, there is still an optimal way to play. Honestly, with all the randomness of this game, I'm surprised that I like it so much. Generally speaking, when it comes to RPGs, I tend to go towards items or builds and skills and abilities that have a smaller chance of randomly things going wrong. For example, when I play Dungeons and Dragons and I roll dice, there's always a chance that I'm going to roll a natural one, a 1 on the 20-sided dice. In that regard, I'm really drawn to mechanics or, like I said, things I can invest in that will either let me re-roll those dice or let me not even have to roll them in the first place, being immune to fear or poisons or whatever. Whenever I play Slay the Spire, the card game, for example, I like to take abilities, specifically cards, with the innate modifier so that they always appear at the top of the deck, so I'm guaranteed to at least play them once. Despite the chaotic nature of Dicey Dungeons, I find myself drawn back to the game again and again and again. And it is frustrating. There are times where I roll the numbers that I don't need or don't want. But if you craft your character and get the right equipment, you can really make it work for you no matter the situation. Or you could just go all in and craft a deck or equipment list, whatever you really want to call it, to really suit your playstyle, whether you roll high or roll low. The thing I really like about this game is how far it really pushes the six-sided dice concept of how much you can really do with, well, a dice. So the way the game works, mechanically speaking, is you roll a pool of dice, and certain pieces of equipment react differently depending on what kind of dice you put on them. Some of them have prerequisites in that they only allow one specific kind of dice, or dice of a certain value below minimum and maximum value, that sort of thing. Some dice deal direct damage to the enemy, which is the most common kind of dice. Some dice deal damage after reaching a certain threshold. Some dice do debuffs, some of them do buffs. And other dice, and this is an interesting one, modify your other dice, or the current dice that you put into them. In that regard, it's a resource management game, where the resources are always randomized, and you always have to pick the most most optimal use of those dice. For those dice, I should say. Goodness gracious, I'm rolling all over my tongue here. Then you have a sort of limit break meter. Different classes do different things. In the warrior's case, when their limit break is activated, whenever dice you put into your next piece of equipment is activated twice instead of once. The thief character just rolls extra dice, and the robot character activates its special abilities instantly. And that's another thing I really enjoy and appreciate about this game, despite its, once again, living off a six-sided dice concept. All the different classes feel very different to play as. And it's not only that, but each level gives a different modifier, so no matter what I'm doing, I still feel like I'm playing a completely new game, no matter which character, no matter which level I'm playing. They're very unique in that regard. One level, for example, might change how your block mechanic works. Normally, when you play block abilities, it just resists whatever damage hits you. But in certain other levels, block, instead of doing that, heals you at the end of turn. So in theory, if you play your cards right, or in this case, dice right, you could come out of each encounter with more hit points than previously. The other thing that I really appreciate about this game is that it doesn't take much to really learn, though it does take a lot to get good at. As someone who is very busy in their day-to-day life with limited amounts of time, I don't want to spend a good portion of the playtime playing the game trying to learn on how to actually play the game. I want to get into it and learn to get good at it. That's far more satisfying than me. In a lot of other roguelike games, or roguelikes I suppose, I have to spend maybe not hours, but it feels like a good chunk of time just learning how to walk, turn around, pick up items. It's infuriating to me, and I just lose patience over that sort of thing, no matter how good the actual game is. That said, I do intend to play Dwarf Fortress eventually. It's just not anytime soon. I mean, why do that when I can just pick up Dicey Dungeons in one go and go, oh, that's how it works, I will play now, and then get better at it. I know it's very controversial to people who enjoy Dwarf Fortress, or maybe it's not controversial at all. I'm pretty sure they're the main proponents of people who say Dwarf Fortress is a jumbled mess to learn. But, like I said, my point is, it's easy to pick up, difficult to master, or maybe that's just because it's all luck. In theory, I suppose someone could just play the entire game and be extremely lucky and get all the right rolls and blow past it near instantaneously on every single playthrough. Whereas someone like me, who's just average luck, I suppose, has to really work at it. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this review. Please comment, like, and subscribe. These things really do help the channel. I'll see you next time, and bye-bye.